You guys, I had the biggest mom fail lately. I cussed my kid out in the middle of downtown Akron, and I have carried so much guilt and shame around that. And today we're going to talk about it as we continue in our series of managing emotions in leadership. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Ashley Morena. I'm the host of the Ash to Dusk podcast, where we talk about everything and anything in the messy middle of life, from entrepreneurship, motherhood, hormones, finances, emotions. If you're interested in it and I have experienced it, we are talking about it here on the podcast. Welcome. All right. If you are signed up for my weekly email, then this past Sunday, you would have read where I told you about how I cussed my son out in the middle of downtown Akron. And I had recorded an episode to go out last Sunday, and I didn't release it. This is not the first time I've done that. So if you're new here, this has happened a few times. But the reality is I am learning this podcasting world. And yes, there are many things that I could say and do to get the clickbait and to get people to come into this space. But at the end of the day, the people I want here are the ones who are willing to grow and to learn and to encourage each other, and also who are reflective and willing to say when we're wrong, when we need to pause or rethink things. So yes, I could sit here and say all the things, but I'm choosing to do it through a lens of growth and one that is encouraging and loving, and thinking about how my kids will see this in the future and not doing things when emotions are heightened. So I'm going to unpack this for a second. First off, I've been reading Start With Yourself by Emma Grede. This is not sponsored. She has no idea who I am, but this is a great book, and I resonate with it so much, being a woman in entrepreneurship and in leadership and raising a family. There's so much good information in here, but there's a section where she breaks down emotions. Now, we have already covered a couple of those emotions, so you can go back to previous episodes recently where we talk about fear and anger. And the other three emotions she talks about are sadness and joy and guilt. And so we're going to cover, I don't know if I'll get to all of them today, but we're going to see what we can unpack here. But Wednesdays, I dedicate my episodes to be more leadership focused and entrepreneurship. And then Sunday is a little bit more focused on family and pursuing your dreams. So I was going to wait and release it last Sunday about this whole thing with my son, because we had just got done talking about anger, and I wanted to bring that into like personal life and how I was so angry with my son. And anyways, so I'm scratching that episode, and I'm going to just give you a little filler of what I'm talking about, since I left you with a cliffhanger on the email. So before we dive into guilt and sadness and joy, I did have a lot of guilt and anger recently with my son, and without getting into what had happened, we went to a baseball game, a professional baseball game, and he was so determined to get all of his merchandise signed. And you know as well as I do, if you show up to get a ball or anything signed at a field, the likelihood that that's going to happen is pretty low. But we happened to have a rain delay, and his whole baseball team was there because they were going to get to go out on the field with the players for the national anthem, and it was a whole thing, like a family night with the baseball team. And so there's a rain delay, and my kid isn't hanging out with the rest of us. So like all the kids really, they're out running in the rain, they're having fun in the stands. Us parents are sitting up by concessions trying to stay dry. And my kiddo decides he's gonna go down to the dugout and lean over, because you have to actually like lean in and around to see the players. And he's asking them to sign his merch. So a couple of them sign. He goes to the other dugout for the other team from New York. He gets them to sign. He goes back. At this point, the entire baseball team, the little league baseball team that he plays on, they're all at the dugouts trying to get their things signed. And the one player was kind of being a little bit, I'm kind of annoyed by this and didn't really want to sign. And so my son said some things that were just not appropriate, not called for, and it was totally disrespectful. Now, I'm not going to get into what he said just because I don't need to. The moral of the story is it was wrong. And so the kids are coming back and they're telling us parents, like, the players are not being very nice. They don't want to sign, a couple of the players. So, long story short, this rain delay continues. We all decide we're going to leave because it was 9:30 before the game was going to start. It's a school night. We're walking through downtown Akron to get to our car. I'm saying downtown Akron because I know nothing about Akron, but we were in Akron watching the game. We had to walk to the parking deck. And as we were walking to the parking deck, my other son said to me, "Do you know what Dawson said to the players?" And I'm like, "No." And he said it to me, and I lost my shit. Now, for anyone who watches me and cussing offends you, I am sorry, but I'm not sorry, because this is just, I'm sharing with you real life, and we fall short every single time. We can try so hard, we're always going to fall just a little short, and it's no excuse. I've never cussed my kid out ever in 15 years of parenting, but that night I did. I was so angry. I was so upset with him. I was so disappointed in him. I'm pretty sure I blacked out because of what I was like. I don't even know. If someone were filming me, I probably would have went viral on TikTok for just being a manic mom who was screaming at her kid. It was the quietest car ride home with 3 kids in the car. And if you know, you have 3 boys in the car, it's never quiet. But that car ride home from the game was the quietest it had ever been. And when we got home, I was so worked up. I called a friend of mine because I was so disappointed in myself. I felt shame and I felt guilt. And I was really mad at how I handled myself, because I'm always teaching the boys and telling them and showing them that no matter how upset you get or what someone does to you, you have to collect yourself and give the best version of you so that you don't have regret down the road. Well, I clearly did not listen to my own guidance in that moment. And as I was on the phone with my friend, Dawson comes into my office, because I was actually in this room. He comes in and he says, "Mom, I am really sorry." And to give some context, he doesn't apologize. This is the kid that he is very sure of himself. He is I don't know if I've ever heard him say he's sorry, which is not necessarily a good thing, but he just never has said to me, "I'm sorry," on his own without being prompted to do that. And so I had a therapy appointment already scheduled a couple of days later, and we got talking, and I told Julie, my therapist, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I completely, like the old version of me, the little 18-year-old who was full of anger and, wanted everything to be perfect. Like, that person came out, and I literally just went off on Dawson." And, she just had a good way to put it, which is sometimes you do need to meet somebody where they're at. And Dawson's one of my tough kiddos. Like, he just is, and he is so confident and sure of himself. And, sometimes just, I like to talk to my kids about what's happening, why they're being disciplined, what the consequences could have been or should be or whatever. And that moment I didn't do it. I completely, like I said, went crazy. And I think he really got the message, like, wow, I was out of line. So needless to say, I'm going to tie all of that into what we're talking about, which is managing your emotions and leadership. There are times, and I know this, where you want to come unglued on a team member, like a coworker, someone you're leading. Maybe you're not in a leadership role, but you hope to be in one day. But you work with somebody who absolutely just gets under your skin or does something that you're just like, why in the heck did you do that? And there is something very powerful about being able to just walk away, or collecting yourself, or being direct and saying, "I'm not putting up with this anymore." But when you react in a way like I did, which I've seen this happen in the workplace before, but when you react the way I did, which was completely lose my shit on my son, it might be effective in the moment, but if that becomes a norm, then you really are setting up culture to be very divisive, very toxic. It's just not managing our emotions, right? And I'm not saying to ignore emotions, and we've talked about that. We can't. We're human. We have them. We need them. It's what makes us great leaders. But it's how we maintain this instead of the highs and the lows. And you hear about that, like the thermostat thermometer situation. The thermometer is what tells you what the temperature is A thermometer goes up and down, right? But the thermostat is what you tell it you want it to be. So if I set my house for 68 degrees, then it's going to maintain that temperature. So no matter how cold it gets outside, how hot it gets, that's the temperature it's going to maintain. We have to do that for ourselves. We have to be the thermostat in our leadership role. And even at home, we have to say, here's the bar I'm setting and we're not going below it. And this is where we're at. But also when things go crazy, I'm not going to boil over, right? And that's what I did. So anyways, I wanted to give a little bit of context in case if you read the email. I was so nervous to send that email out, you guys. I thought I would wake up Monday morning to a lot of hate mail, and I didn't. I actually had somebody who messaged me and was like, thank you so much for sharing that, because that has happened to me and I have put so much shame and guilt on myself. And I'm glad to know that I'm not the only person. And that's the whole point of this podcast, is to share our journey, no matter if it's going to disappoint somebody else. Sometimes I do worry about what I share and how that will affect my business, and especially being in public education. But at the end of the day, it's real things. And hopefully I will attract the people who are in line with that. And we don't do fake stuff here. So, okay, let's get into it. So, managing emotions. We already talked about fear and anger. Now let's get into the guilt for a minute. Guilt and sadness. I'm going to kind of lump these two together. Guilt being in leadership, there's a lot of things that can come with this. One, how you handled yourself, just like I did with my kiddo. There have been times throughout my leadership journey where I had guilt in how I handled a situation, but I also think guilt is a good thing. So it's not comfortable to feel it in the moment, but I think it's necessary in leadership, because it's a checkpoint for us to understand, like, oh, we might have been wrong here. And if we're feeling that sense of guilt, we might need to apologize. We might need to course correct whatever decision we made that was probably not the right one. That's what keeps us in check is guilt. But I also think we experience guilt in leadership in a different way, in a more personal way. And this is with our family. Many of us are driven. We are driven to want to build this career or build a business. And with that comes a lot of loneliness, which also taps into sadness, which I want to talk about. Oftentimes when you are in management, you're in leadership, it can feel lonely because there's not as many people in those roles as there are in just everyday typical operator roles. And it's hard for you or for me to relate to other people unless if you're surrounding yourself with others in the situation. And especially being a mom, when you miss out maybe on sporting events, or in my early years as a food service director, my kids had to be at daycare at 6:30 in the morning so I could start my day at 7. I didn't get them, and I wasn't home until 4:30 in the afternoon. I didn't see them all day. And when I saw them at night, I was so tired. I wasn't the mom that could pack lunch for them in the morning, and I wasn't the mom who could get them off the bus in the afternoon. It just didn't happen. So the last year, I've been so appreciative for, because I've been able to finally build my own schedule to where I can make the breakfast for my kids in the morning. I can be home for the most part when they get home from school. And it's taken me a long time to get here. My oldest is 15, so I'm kind of running out of time here. But the point is that sometimes you do have to sacrifice to get to the life that you want to live. And we don't often talk about what those sacrifices are. And there's a lot of guilt that comes with that in leadership. And if you're feeling that, you're not alone. I have felt that for many years. And I still feel that from time to time. When I go on my speaking tour in the fall again, I'm going to be gone for a few weeks at a time with a day or two in between coming home. And there's guilt around the fact that I'm probably going to miss the first day of school. I'm probably going to miss open house. But at the end of the day, they do get me the majority of the time the rest of the year. And sometimes there's just a sacrifice that comes with it. Now, I love this quote that Emma Grede used in her book, so I want to just say it. It's by Will Rogers. And he says, "Don't let yesterday take up too much of today." If you live in a place of guilt every single day, you are not aligned with where you should be headed. That is your internal compass saying, this is not right. We shouldn't be here. I don't have guilt every single day for things with my family or even with my team because I resolve it quickly. If I've done something with my team that I've realized, oh boy, I probably shouldn't have said that, or that didn't come out the way I wanted it to, or whatever, I will rectify it immediately as soon as I feel that. And then I make sure that I don't do that again, right? With my kids, I don't feel guilt every single day because I know that majority of the time I am home, I'm present with them. And there are going to be some times when I'm gone. And when I'm gone for those longer stints of travel, I'll have a moment of feeling guilty there, but it's not something that I overwhelmingly feel. If you feel it every single day, then you're not aligned with what you're supposed to be doing, and listen to yourself, because that's an important thing to measure within you on how to know where to go. And a lot about what we talk about in this podcast is, what am I supposed to be doing? Where am I meant to be going? But you know, if you just tap into that intuition deep within, you know, sometimes it's just scary to face it. And I want to tie in sadness here. There's another really good quote by Dolly Parton in the book. If you want the rainbow, you got to put up with the rain. And there is going to come rain. That's what we need to, for our grass to be green and the flowers to grow and for us to have water to drink and all the things. There's going to be rain. But when it does rain, you have to be able to find the good in every single day, because we get into slumps. And when we're in leadership, people depend on us. But here's the thing that most people don't realize. Not only does our team depend on us to give guidance and make decisions, that's clear, like that has to happen, but they are indirectly counting on us to manage their emotions, and they have no idea. They're counting on us to show up in a good mood. They're counting on us to always come full of energy, and that no matter if the building's burning down, that we have some sort of positive outlook, we have a vision. They're counting on us and they don't even realize it. And oftentimes in leadership, we forget that they're counting on us for those things, because all we know is like, we have to make decisions. We have to keep this bus going forward. And we lose sight of the fact that they are counting on us to help regulate their emotions too, and to feel safe. And in leadership, we don't get to leave that at work. We don't get to leave leadership at the door, because when we come home, our family needs us in a different way as a leader. And it just doesn't stop. And that brings us to the last emotion that Emma talks about in her book, which is joy. And the quote that she used, which I love as well, if you're not positive energy, you're negative energy. At the end of the day, you chose to be in leadership, or maybe it chose you, but you ultimately chose to be here. And you did it because deep within you, you believe you can make a difference. You know you can do it, but you're always being pulled in every which way. And there's always red tape, and there's rules and regulations and all the people telling you what you can't do. But you got to reconnect with why you chose leadership in the first place. Why are you here? And if the answer really is, I don't know anymore, and this isn't what I want to be, it's time to find a new job, a new role, and that's okay. But if you're in leadership and you know you're supposed to be there, you're just burned out, it's time to reconnect with yourself. It's time to find joy. It's time to let go of the negative energy. What you put out into the world, I really do believe you will attract. And if all you do is complain about the work that you do, or complain about somebody on the team, then you're only going to attract people who want to hear that. I never really want to hear that. So for me, I'm trying to avoid that at all costs. I want to protect my energy and my peace. And joy is something that you have to choose to find. It's like happiness in some ways. Like happiness is fleeting, it comes and goes. Joy is something that you need to find it. You need to find the good that's happening every single day around you, even when it feels like the biggest mountain that you're about to climb, or it's one of your darkest days. And that's what's going to get you through your leadership journey. No one else. No one else. So, all right, let's do a quick recap for anyone who's new and who didn't come. Start With Yourself is a great book. Again, it's not an ad. Emma has no idea who I am. Maybe one day I'll get to be on her podcast. I don't know. But she breaks down 5 emotions to manage. And those emotions were fear, there were anger, guilt, sadness, and joy. We broke them all down here on the podcast, specifically related to leadership. And I've also talked about some of my personal journeys with you. And at the end of the day, what I want you to walk away is this. Your emotions are real, they're valid, and you should not ignore them. But emotions come and go, and you need to set the tone for who you want to be every single day. Having some sort of a mission, a vision, something that you run every decision through, being able to say to yourself, I'm not going to let something fester within me anymore. I'm going to start making decisions faster. I'm not going to make a decision quickly, though, all the time. Like, I'm not going to be reactive, but within 24 hours, I am going to make a decision on what needs to happen. Don't let those things linger. At the end of the day, when you do that, it causes you a lot of anxiety, which is something we didn't talk about or wasn't in the book. Fear and anger oftentimes comes with anxiety. It comes with resentment. It comes with holding a lot of things within and not being willing to have conversations head on and being direct with the person that you need to have them with. And I wish that we had more conversations with each other in person. I wish I had them more with you. And that's actually just a reminder. I have a P.O. box. You can write to me anytime, and I promise I'm going to write to you back. I think handwritten notes are something that should come back. It's been very therapeutic for me and just rewarding to receive them from you. I'll make sure that the mailing address is in the show notes of this podcast, but write to me anytime. Tell me things that you're struggling with or something that you're celebrating. I want to be a part of that with you. Build a community around you. That community doesn't need to be big. It could just be a few people, but find your people, ones that will hold you accountable, ones that will check you at the door when your emotions are a little bit haywire and out of check. You want someone who is on your team who's courageous enough to let you know when you need to get back on track and you've lost sight of who you are. So no matter what emotion you're feeling today, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. And if you have stuck around this long in the podcast, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. It helps it reach people who desperately are craving a community to learn and grow in. And I just want to thank you so much for being here. We are now over 12,000 total downloads in play since October. And I couldn't be more grateful. All right, my friend, until we meet again, keep your light burning. From Ash.